The followers of Jung who are old enough to have known him well are now in their last years themselves. Jung's work began with his own inner life, and for these analysts, the arrival of old age and the approach of death is an opportunity to observe what the unconscious has to say.
When one is preparing for death, which is what I've been busy doing for the last 10 years, sounds lugubrious, but at my age it isn't. I've had an incredibly rich life, and as I said, I call God Albert, and if they threw the switch on me tomorrow night time, I would scrawl, "Dear Albert, thank you, Joe." You know, this is my feeling about it.
Dr. Adolf Guggenbuhl Craig, a Zurich analyst, has recently published a book called Old Fools.
When I was young, I obviously hoped that one day I will understand what's going on. And I was in some way admiring the people who were older because I thought they knew what they were talking about. And then all of a sudden one morning I woke up and I was old myself and wasn't a bit wiser, and saw that I don't understand much, or even understand some things less. And that's a bit depressing.
Today, old age is not appreciated very much. There are too many old people, so sometimes I'm ashamed to be still here with my 85 years. And the value which people give to old age is how young they feel, how youthful.
Well, that's a kind of tremendous pressure on these poor old people. They have not only to look younger, they even have to be more experienced and more clever and so on. I think it's an insult if you say to an old person, you look very young.
So what sort of 85-year-old lady do you wish to feel?
Feel? I feel that I wish to feel as I feel. I'm quite satisfied. I don't want to be different. No.
I saw that one advantage, one possibility in old age, which has been depicted in images too, is that when you're old, you don't have to care so much anymore. When you're old, you can say, what the hell, what does it matter if people think I'm an idiot or if I'm an old fool? And so the archetype of the old fool is really a fuller archetype than the old wise man, who is a one-sided propaganda gimmick of older people to dominate the younger ones.
Jungian analysts share a conviction that life has meaning, though it may be found only in retrospect, and though the meaning may be purely personal and of no wider significance. Aniela Jaffe.
What is meaning? We create meaning, and that's so important. Afterwards, if I look back my long life, and there were things which were very difficult for me. If you try to understand your dreams and your fantasies, then perhaps you can find a meaning. Looking back, what Jung thought, reflection, looking back. I was married, and it was, we were very, very young, 20 and 21. But it didn't last very long. So we divorced. And I thought, what can that mean? It was ridiculous. Two students marrying and then going away. The meaning for me was this marriage saved my life, because I got the Swiss passport. He was Swiss, and I could go to Switzerland. I came to Jung. These are the detours, you see, which life creates, which one doesn't understand. But decades later, one understands.
You see, I'm very old, and for a very, very long time, I didn't feel old. And I thought that I could and should, not so much should, but that one just did, went on doing the same things when one was 85 or 86 or 89 than the things one did when one was 60 or 70. And I did not heed Jung at the time, because I was very surprised sometimes when Jung, when he was about end of 60s, 70s, in the 70s, didn't do this or didn't do that. because he said he was too old, and I couldn't understand it. Jung used to say, if you can't take a hint from life, then life will hit you. And that, I think, is true. There were hints which I could have taken, and I didn't. And so I had to break my leg before I was ready or willing or able to understand what it really was about. Particularly, I felt some kind of relief almost that I could be old, that I was permitted to be old. It was the most extraordinary experience. And through that experience, I realized how wise Jung was.
As Jung himself grew older, he spent more time at his tower in Bolingen, where he withdrew to think, write, and remember, to carve, to dream, and perhaps above all, simply to play. In his childhood, Jung's games and fantasies gave him his first glimpses of the unconscious. For this remarkable man, half Swiss peasant and half world-famous intellectual, play contained images and meaning as real as the concrete world around him. His grandson, Dieter Baumann.
He played all the time. In Bolingen he did his so-called waterworks, namely he dug into, you see the slope by the lake there is saturated with water, and so the water kind of oozes out of it. And so he had a system of rivulets which he connected into a mainstream, and then that went to the lake. And already as a boy, I think when I was 8 years old, I helped him there.
I remember my son visiting Bolingen once when he was a little boy, because he was a friend of the grandchildren of Jung. And then he came home and he said, "Oh, Mommy, there was an old gentleman, and you know, he made all those little rivers in the earth. We were playing next to the lake. And he wondered why he did this."
We know that every good idea and all creative work are the offspring of the imagination and have their source in what one is pleased to call infantile fantasy. Without this playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth. The debt we owe to the play of imagination is incalculable. It must not be forgotten that it is just in the imagination that a man's highest value may lie.